Hi guys! In this demonstration, I'm going to show you guys some fun techniques that I use to desensitize colts on none other than my beautiful filly Chobit. Taking the time to add desensitization to your colt's routine is a valuable resource that will teach your horse to trust you, respect you, and allow you to lead them through potentially precarious situations. Our goal is a horse that will be confident in sticking with you to get him out of trouble, instead of just leaving you when things start to get dicey. These lessons will be huge when you start riding your horse and will help to boost his confidence about you being on his back for the first time, as well as all the unnerving things that will be going on for him under saddle. Take the time to earn your horse's trust, and your first rides will be much, much more enjoyable, I promise you. The first tool that I'm going to introduce Chobit to is a giant horse-sized soccer ball that I got at my local tack shop. It's essentially just a yoga ball with a nice cover over it. And as you can see, Chobit is a little bit reluctant to get anywhere near this ball. And it's making a large resonation bouncing sound every time it hits the ground, and it's moving unpredictably. It's a pretty frightening object for horses, so this is a great tool for desensitizing. And I'm going to start off slow with it. I'm not going to throw it at her or do anything that's too over the top. I really want to set her up for success with this object and try to get her to calm down and get used to it as quickly as possible. So I'm keeping my body language very relaxed, even though she's clearly pretty upset by it. I don't change my demeanor at all. I almost just sort of ignore her until she becomes as relaxed as I am. And they will. They'll start to feel silly when they see how nonchalant you are around the object and how it's not bothering you, and they'll sort of start to come down to your level. And right there she relaxed and went to smell it, so I'm just going to pet her and let her rest. So now I'm going to start kind of rolling it up against her and letting it touch her. And I don't really look for her feet to stop moving in this part of it, just because this is kind of a scary object. It's kind of weird, and she's just barely taking steps forward. She's not being belligerent about it or disrespectful, so I just kind of let her continue to leak forward as I touch her with the ball. Now I'm going to lift it up onto her back, and she took that quite well just because we've sort of been playing with it on the ground up until now. But this time I am going to wait until she'll stop moving. So I want all four of her feet to stop moving, even just for a second, and then I'm going to take the ball off and release all that pressure and just kind of move it away from her a little bit. So a great way to get horses used to scary objects is actually to allow them to follow them. So if you can move the object away from the horse and allow them to pursue it, it becomes much less frightening to them, and it's a great way to introduce horses to things that they're absolutely terrified of. So I'm just sort of rolling the ball back and forth and allowing it to become kind of a fun game chasing it around. As with all things, I'm going to desensitize her on both sides of her body, so I'm just putting the ball up on the other side of her. She took that amazingly well, so I'm just going to pet her, give her that release by removing the ball, and allow her to smell it. The next item I'm bringing into the round pen is this big blue tarp. Now, I don't suggest getting one that's too big, but one that's at least large enough to get some size in your round pen. This one was about $20 at Home Depot. You can also get them at Lowe's or most major feed stores as well. I've spread it out, and I'm going to start Chobit off by walking over it with her. Now, this is conditional only on my filly. You'll want to use your best caution when doing this exercise with your own horses, because the tarp can be a very frightening stimulus for them, and it can cause them to be very disrespectful about your space. So you'll want to make sure that your horses aren't crashing into you and that you're not in a position where you're going to get hurt. Again, she's very familiar with the tarp, so I'm just going to run and lead her over it. This is something that you would want to proceed with caution with your own horses to make sure that you are in a safe position when introducing them to this item. And again, like with the soccer ball, a great way to familiarize horses with scary objects is to let them follow it. So I've picked it up and I'm just carrying it around the round pen. You can see she gets really worried about it. She almost wants to be like a little wackadoodle here. And my body language doesn't change. I almost just completely ignore her behavior, and I stay very calm and confident, like, what are you doing? I'm just walking around with this tarp. And so she's definitely going to pick up on that body language, and she's going to respond accordingly as well and start to become a lot more calm and confident about the object. I'm going to drape the tarp over her back, and like I've said before, this can be kind of a sticky situation for some horses. They can tend to cow kick and really try to get that tarp off them, so you'll want to make sure that you're in a safe position if you do attempt to do this with your own horses. I know her quite well. She's not going to cow kick out at me or do anything dangerous, so I feel completely confident in laying the tarp over her back like this and being so close to her. And again, I'm just waiting for her to slow down and stop moving, which I have cut out pieces of that just for the time length of this video, but it'll be as long as necessary. Horses don't really have a time frame. But she quit moving, and so I released all the pressure. And another great way to get horses used to objects is to genuinely allow them to explore it. As long as they're approaching it and being engaged with the object, don't put any pressure on them. Don't pull them forward or try to make them get more involved. Just let them sort of approach these things at their own pace and get used to them at their own pace. So now I've asked her to step onto the tarp, and I'm just going to ask her to come right into the middle of it. And she did a fantastic job, and that's where she's going to get her release. So the third object I love using is a stock whip that I got at my local tack store. A lot of trainers have coined these sort of handy stick tools, but they're a lot bulkier and heavier, and for me, they're not as long or easy to maneuver. So I really like these little driving whips that you can get at your feed store, and they're really inexpensive and common. And I like them because they're longer, so they're great for unpredictable horses that you don't want to be so close to. And they're also lightweight, so for little weaklings like myself, it's not as hard to handle them for long periods of time. My arm doesn't get so worn out. And I just go over her with it, rubbing her all over between her legs and chest, all over her back, and kind of flicking the whip end over her and letting it kind of wrap around her belly a little bit too. And I'm just going to go all around her with this whip, swinging it and just kind of showing her that it's completely fine and it's not something that's going to hurt her. This is something that I use to sensitize her with by moving her off, so I'm going to want to use it quite a bit to desensitize her with it to show her that it's not a scary object, it's just an extension of me. So now I'm going to start actually round penning her with my desensitizing tools in the round pen with me. And this is a great way to get your round penning and groundwork done, but also to desensitize at the same time. And this is going to work especially well for those of you that have horses who are really scared of the tarp and you want to be in a safer position when they cross it. So this way you don't have to be as close to them. And I'm just driving her over the tarp. I've got it right up against the fence so she can't duck out or evade the tarp. And I'm just asking her to change directions. Right there I stopped her and I welcomed her to come in. She didn't want to, but I want to teach her to come into me because it's helping to build trust for her. So I do go and I pull her in with my shoulder and walk into the center to give her a release. And over the tarp she's going to go again. And if she breaks gait, I just drive her. You'll see the wind picked that tarp up and moved it a bit. It really worried her and she tried to evade it. So I just calmly stepped in front and redirected her back in the direction I had originally asked her to go, and she was really good about it. So now I'm going to call her in, and I've stepped out in front, caught her eye, and brought her in. She's given me two eyes, but she didn't want to come into the center, and I really want that. So I'm just going to go unstick her feet and ask her to hook onto me and follow me into the center to get her release, and just to solidify that trust we've created. So that was it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching my desensitization techniques. And I can't wait to post more working with this amazing filly. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.